I'm very thankful for you, for all the students that are here, and everyone that is joining us today. So we're gonna go ahead and ask some questions. I'm gonna start off with Trish. So I have a question for you, Trish. Have you experienced any instances where your identity as an LGBTQIA plus individual has influenced your relationship with a teacher or vice versa? If so, how?
So, as you can see, like I'm actually in one of my teacher's classrooms right now. And obviously, I haven't been a student of Cyberanies, but um, and also one of my teachers are in here too. Um, but I am very open about the fact that I'm a part of GSA since I was like a freshman, and like being a secretary to being co-president. Um, I I keep it well known. I advocate for myself during club rush for my school. And so most of my teachers know that I am a part of the LGBTQ community. And I really love when my teachers ask me about definitions or just asking my opinion on certain news or subjects and things like that, especially with things going on in our area when it comes to the LGBTQ plus community. And even like, even though it is kind of scary for an authority figure to know something more personal about myself, it does like help me build relationships with those who are supportive, and it can range from my avid teacher who I am continuing to know for my whole entire high school career to GSA advisors or just TAs that I TA for, or even the social workers asking me how being in a part of GSA and experiencing LGBT plus experiences and how they can inform themselves or be more of an advocate. So it does really help as a teacher if you are understanding and even curious about things. Just asking things is very helpful.
Thank you, Trish. Yeah, it's definitely having that support system is an amazing thing to have, and especially in high school. Would anyone else like to add on to that or have any other opinions? If not, we can go ahead and move on.
Okay.
All right. So, okay.
I am going to go. Oh, I'm so sorry, David. So I'm going to ask the next question. Alex, this one is for you. What is a teacher's role in preventing bullying, ensuring inclusion, and making each student feel safe?
Hi. Personally, I feel a teacher is a student's biggest ally when they're on campus. And so to ensure that there's no bullying, a teacher should intervene as soon as they see it happening and just prevent it from spreading and ensure that safe space is available for all students because we're all people and so it shall be equal for everybody.
Beautiful. And is there anybody else who would like to add on to that? If not, then David, I'm going to throw it back to you.
Awesome. Thank you. First of all, thank you, Alex, for your response, and Trisha as well. I forgot to thank you earlier. Atticus, I actually have a question for you. Was I muted? Did everyone hear me? Sorry. Atticus, I have a question for you. What makes you feel heard, seen, valued, and cared for by a teacher?
What makes me feel heard or valued is just having basic respect like respecting my space, my name, my pronouns. I don't even have to be acknowledged, but as long as someone doesn't go actively out of their way to disrespect me, I feel at the least understood.
Awesome. Thank you, Atticus.
And I'm going to actually ask Alex, or sorry, Felix. Could you answer that question? And Atticus, I love what you said. Like, it's just basic. You just have to, it's basic respect. I love that you said that. So Felix, why don't you add on to that?
Yeah, I think a big part of a teacher creating a really accepting environment is collecting like preferred names and pronouns at the start of the year. That can really take a step towards making sure students know that they're going to be valued. And also, when you're talking about like a career path or anything like that, mentioning a queer person in that field can make students feel really valued.
I'm not sure if Felix got cut off or he stopped talking. Felix, did you have something else to say?
I'm
Okay,
good
I
for
think it was,
them.
oh, you're good, thank you. I was like, where you're at? Okay, so thank you so much for saying that, for answering the questions, and thank you all for being here, really. I'm gonna throw it again back to you, David.
Thank you, Em. Lynx, how are you doing today?
I'm good.
Good. I've got a question for you. Can you share any positive experiences where you identify identity has been celebrated or supported by a teacher, contributing to a positive student-teacher relationship?
I think I don't know if it counts as like my teacher, but my GSA advisor, um I'm the vice president, and I'm also kind of the historian. But I think she's really helped me feel valid and seen and empowered. And I like to kind of be a role model because I'm privileged, more privileged than a lot of the other people in the club because I have a really supportive family and I was able to start testosterone. So but yeah, I really like to um, educate people and yeah, but
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, it's definitely one of those. I mean, congratulations on the transitioning. I'm really proud. I think
Yes,
that
congratulations, and thank you for sharing that for us. That's a big thing. That's a big step.
yes,
It's
very much.
beautiful.
Thank you.
And I'm going to ask the same thing to Felix. Can you share something, an experience that has been positive? Sorry, I just glitched over here. Excuse my glitch, guys. Yeah, I'm just going to keep glitching. So Felix, can you please answer the same question?
Yeah, well, not super shockingly, Madame has been a really great source on campus for all of that. I came out to her really awkwardly at the end of my freshman year in a reminder. She tried in both of the languages, and always in that classroom. She asked very specifically, is that the name that you want to go by in front of the whole class, to make sure that I was going to be like safe and supported in all of the ways that I could be. So she was really great. And I've also had great experiences with my choir directors as far as them working really hard to use ungendered terms. So that has been great.
Beautiful, thank you. And I'm glad that that's something that you felt good about. I try really hard to be the best ally that I can be, even though there's things I know and there's things I don't. So we love it. Is there anybody here who would like to add on to the questions before we go on to the next question?
I could say something on that. Right. Just to keep it short, mixed brandy is a very good example of this. Although nothing has really nothing dramatic has happened. I haven't had like a large coming out. Just that acceptance of knowing who that person is, knowing I can talk to them without judgment has made the environment better. Has like I look forward to the financial algebra class that I have on seventh period days. That's really all. Yeah, it's cool.
Nice. Is there anyone else who would like to add on to that? Okay, thank you so much. Okay,
I
we're gonna
think,
go on.
I'm sorry, I
Oh.
think Atticus's hand is raised.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't see.
That's
Oh,
okay.
Atticus, go ahead.
Atticus.
I would like to say that mixing brandy has also been a great help to like having a safe space. I was in Florida for a couple years. There was nothing. There's nothing. And it's I wouldn't say a culture shock, but it's really relieving to me to be able to have a space that people actually understand me and respect me for who I am and my identity. It's just I'm really glad that Mixed and Brandy is here as a teacher. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. And if somebody has their hand up, please let me know because I can't see them because we're being highlighted. Is there anyone else? Okay. Okay, we're gonna go on. Thank you so much, guys. So the next thing I'm gonna ask is to Alex. Let's get you talking too. Does your school have signs displayed as safe spaces? Have safe spaces been publicly discussed at your school? And then the following question to that, what do you think or what do you feel is the importance of having designated safe spaces on campus?
So our school does have a student resource center and counseling, and they're not as advertised as I think they should be. Like I just found out recently that they had the whole student resource center on the second floor. So I think safe spaces should be more like shown around campus and maybe like mentioned or like the little signs in classrooms. But there's more unofficial safe spaces, I guess, with some teachers that are really nice where I know for one I could go to that teacher and be safe, and Madame is one, and then my freshman lit teacher is another. So just having the safe spaces it's very good for students to like go to when they feel overwhelmed and stuff.
Thank you. I am really proud to be able to be one of them for you guys. Is there anybody else who would like to add on to that?
Yes, Felix.
Another note, we go to the same school, is that we have little ally signs that teachers can get and hang up in their classroom just so everyone knows. My freshman biology teacher had that.
Did everybody hear Felix?
No, and it's saying on my end that his bandwidth might be a little low. So, Felix, if you can hear me, could you also, if you would mind, because we really wanted to hear your response, could you also put it in? Yes, it is choppy. Could you also put your response in the chat? We don't want to miss one word of what you all are saying, and so if it's not coming across clearly, could you perhaps put part of it in the chat? That would be great. Thank you.
And while he's putting it in the chat, is there anybody else who would like to answer that question as well? We'll have something to add to it.
I think at my school there's a lot of teachers that have the like safe space signs or stickers on their door. And it's really nice to see just how many teachers are supportive. And also, I think recently my GSA did a fundraiser to sell the rest of our shirts. And within like an hour or two of opening the form, we almost like sold out immediately because so many teachers wanted to buy our shirts and support us. So that was really nice.
That's really awesome.
Yeah, that is beautiful to know. I think we need to start talking about shirts at my campus. So,
Same
did we
here.
get, right? Did we get Felix's? Okay, so Felix said King does have ally signs that teachers can get and put in their classrooms. Yes. Okay. All right. And a lot of us do have those, I'm sure. If nobody else wants to answer or add on to that question, I'm going to go on to the next. And Felix, this one's for you. So we're going to try to hear you talk again. And if it's not working, we'll kind of wave you down and maybe you can type it in. But you get the question, the next question. How do you feel your identity as a LGBTQIA plus individual has impacted your mindset towards learning and academic success?
So I think that a lot of the way that my picture of academic, I don't know, can people hear me?
We're hearing you right now. Go for it.
It's still a little choppy, Felix. It was
Is it working?
suggested that perhaps trying to
Okay.
turn your camera off. You want to turn your camera off and try speaking, see if that helps the bandwidth a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
I think a lot of the way that I've been impacted by my identity in academic success and performance has to do with role models. I have never seen a transgender person in the job and at the schools that I want to go to.
Yeah, you could have left them in there. I'm no, not those. I meant the regular ones.
Felix, I think they're trying to figure it out. You got a little choppy again. Now you sounded like a robot. I think a lot of us were able to hear what you were saying.
I should not have tried to use
the other parts in the bag.
And I think somebody is not on mute
Yes, we want to ensure that
and
it's
having
okay
a
here.
conversation. Thank you.
Okay.
Those watching the captions may help understand. Yes, open up those captions, the closed captions. Thank you, Trish, because that's a really good idea. Okay.
So I think that lack of role models holds true for a lot of ambitious young trans people. I think that as an educator, making an effort to show role models in your field who are diverse and part of historically oppressed communities can be super valuable.
Yeah. Definitely, absolutely. Tanya is saying, I heard Felix mention the importance of role models. Absolutely. And in the GSA, I know that they talk about different role models, that can help out. It's really nice to see them do that. Does anybody else want to add on to that question? And I'll ask it again. How do you feel your identity? I'm sorry, you were already talking. You already know. I'm gonna let you talk.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. I overreact because there's a huge delay. But what I think Felix was trying to get to, and what I think he was making reference to in an earlier question was about representation overall. So how he was able to succeed academically. Other people are able to see that and in many ways are inspired. And to bring up something slightly related is queer people in general, specifically trans people. I apologize for not having the number off the top of my head, but statistically wouldn't like live as long. Suicide rates were higher. The likelihood that someone could get a stable job, things like that, were just generally lower because of X, Y, and Z. Representation is one of those little things that can help a person early on. Yeah. Shebang.
100%. 100%. It's beautifully the way you said it. And I do think that Felix was trying to get to that too. It's just he got a little robotic on us. So thank you for helping him out. He got the idea. And everybody loves your glasses. So
Yes,
uh,
yes.
I'm gonna ask one more question. And then
Trish, I think Trish wants to answer that as well.
Trish, I'm so sorry I can't see hands.
That's
Go
okay.
ahead.
You're good. So I just wanted to add on to that with the role models and stuff. Rye is the other president of the GSA here at Vista, and even did a LGBTQ plus history presentation. And I think learning the history of LGBTQ plus is really important as well, of the people who started movements and things like that is very important to learn and know, because I think it's very inspirational and shows that we can still continue to make change and progress in any area, even nowadays, and also just learning about who was important back then is also just very helpful, because yes, we still struggle in this day and age, but back then there was definitely more struggles. And I think knowing that we are able to get from that to now is also very hopeful in a way.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Yes,
And
thank you, Trish.
Links, would you like to add on to that?
Yeah, I just like to like reflect again that the representation is really a huge thing. And I also agree with the like lifetime thing, because it's extremely like impactful when I see adult queer people and especially adult trans people, because a lot of times people don't want us to live to adulthood and be able to have happy lives. So seeing that is amazing too. And it's also important to look at history because queer and trans people have existed for so long. And a lot of times that's not talked about in school, and I really wish it was, which is what I'd kind of try to like advocate for and help in, because there's so many just things in our world that could not exist without queer and trans people, and especially those of color. So yeah.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I just want to say, like, as far as representation in history and in the present day, it's us as the teachers that need to be our authentic selves, to really show the students who we are, and not be someone that's not who you are. If that makes sense, as far as that's the way that I kind of approach them. That's how I create that safe space. And like Bry, Atticus, thank you. Like that's my goal, is to make you guys feel safe in my classroom. Even though, I mean, some of you I don't have as students, and you still feel comfortable in there. Would anyone else like to add on to that, or we can go ahead and move on? All right. So I've got a question. Next question is going to be for Links. Have you encountered any challenges in maintaining a positive mindset towards your education due to your identity? And if so, how have you navigated them?
I think a lot of it's been with my gender, because I've had teachers, I mean, not so much anymore, because I pass a lot better as male, now that I'm on testosterone. But I've had teachers, like not know my pronouns or not use them, or refer to me as Kelly because they don't want to use my first name for some reason. Or um like I've had some teachers that they say they support me, but they don't really take the steps to actually show that support, like using my pronouns. Um, it's just a lot of like, I guess, double standards kind of, or just the not reflecting, because I think a lot of people are fine supporting people as long as it's not an inconvenience to them, because once they actually have to go out of their way to show the support, it's uncomfortable and they don't want to do it. I think at my middle school, the theater club advisor, she would act like she was really supportive towards the queer community, but once somebody wanted to use different pronouns, she was like crazy. And we basically, we, a lot of us in that club were queer and trans, and we kind of boycotted her club, and then she didn't have a club, and then she retired the next year. So it was kind of interesting to see that play out.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely thank you for sharing that. I just know, as far as like, you have the support from me, uh, Dedra, and it's a step in the right direction. But just find that support, kind of keep your head high. Um, definitely something that I'm happy that you shared. And so for those that don't understand, see, Trish just said even.
I
Yeah,
think Atticus.
yeah,
Do you want to ask
yeah,
Atticus the same question?
yes. So Atticus, would you like, so have you encountered any challenges in maintaining a positive mindset in your education due to your identity? And if so, how have you navigated?
Um, when I was in Florida, I didn't really have much support. I was very much forced out to my parents and the rest of my extended family. It didn't go very well, and my grades very much inflected that, because at that point, I did not see a reason to continue going on if every encounter that I was going to have as I continued on was just going to be something like that. And it felt awful to just have to go through that. And it really felt like a cycle of just disappointment after disappointment. And I didn't really feel like there was any hope in achieving a life and being trans until I moved to California. And then I got more depressed because I was in a new place and I didn't know anyone. But then I joined TSA, and that was really fun. And there's a lot of support, and it's really been helping me see the changes that my parents have been trying to make in order to like suit who I am as a person. And my education, my love for education has gone has been more valued because of this, like, no longer stressed about this one aspect of my life, that I could actually focus on my education and be like, oh, this is actually really fun. This is a neat little thing. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, it does have a big impact on your mental health too. I mean, not being yourself is very is gonna have a negative effect on you, what you're saying. And I'm happy here in California. And I'm sad that you're a senior and you're graduating, but just know I'm always gonna be there for you. So, would anyone else like to add on to that? Trish.
So I just want to add on to, like, this kind of goes into a little bit of a different subject, but so many people mentioned about going to their teachers and being able to find hope into that. And there are downsides with that. There are teachers that show that they aren't as supportive, and I've even had my own experience. And I have this one teacher that, even though they are supportive in the way that they say that they are, they even have a TA that goes by a different name. But when it comes to pronouns, they they went on a tangent on how they don't think that they them is grammatically correct and they would never use it to refer to someone. And it was just very like shocking because it was, I mean, from this teacher's reputation, I expected that behavior, but to actually witness this in class of just expressing their own opinions when it is a very sensitive topic of it can easily offend other people and also just disrespectful. So it is hard to find that balance of the teachers you feel safe going to and the teachers you don't feel safe to. And I know who they are and I acknowledge them and I hope that they see that how much I appreciate them. So
Thank you, Trish. That's that. I mean, the support and knowing that. I mean, just us being the exposure of us out there and this our community. Hopefully, will get us going in the right direction. Alex, actually, would you like to add on to that?
Yeah. Last year when I came out and I hadn't had my name changed in the school thing, there were a lot of like substitute teachers specifically who would like disrespect my pronouns and my name. And I had one teacher tell me that my dead name was beautiful and ask why I didn't want to go by it. And that was just like very off-putting. But then I went to my counselor and I got my name changed. And this year all my teachers are a lot more supportive and they're more understanding and they use the right pronouns. But yeah, the pronoun thing is like a big thing, I think, that teachers should definitely acknowledge and stuff.
Yes, that's definitely like just going back to the mental health. That's really what comes down to, not being who you truly are. Rye, would you like to add on?
Yeah, I would, but just so I could be reminded, what was the initial question?
Oh yeah, initial question. So I'm gonna go back to that real quick. So have you encountered any challenges in maintaining a positive mindset towards your education due to your identity? Right. And if so, how have they negative impact?
Yeah, thank you. To go back to what Atticus was saying, well, the main thing I want to highlight about his story is that is not an abnormality. That happens everywhere at all schools. At like the school that I go to at Vista, there are definitely students with not supportive parents, and yeah, that reflects itself in its academics. And then to what I forgot who said it, to what someone was saying about them bringing up questions about their dead name, is a lot of the times teachers will overstep in that aspect of asking questions that are like just TMI. When you're trying to do your work in class, it is a distraction, and that definitely takes toll. Yeah. Oh, one last thing. The thing about what Trish was saying about they them pronouns, I wanted to say that there are a lot of teachers that will like support but only halfway. Like someone else brought up, they would only refer to them by their last name. That is still in essence saying I don't fully support you. That's its own statement in of itself. And when a student will ask you to refer to them using they them pronouns, it's okay if you don't understand it, because you don't have to. You see them maybe for 30 minutes. You can like make a situation a lot easier and a lot more like educational and beneficial for people in the whole classroom if you did that way. Yeah.
Thank you, Ray, for sharing that. It's definitely, I agree. Last response. Links. How would you like to add on to that?
I've had a very like similar experience where the teacher says they support me, but they won't refer to me as my pronouns. They'll just refer to me as links, or they'll tell another student. Like there was a student who said that because of their religious views, that he wouldn't call me links, or that he wouldn't call me but like he him pronouns. and my teacher said to just call me Lynx and not use pronouns. And that's just like very like dehumanizing. And yeah, I don't like when teachers say they support you but won't go out of their way to actually live up to that.
Thank you, Links. Definitely. Um, Experiences in high school are definitely hit or miss, and I'm glad at least everyone here is kind of in the right direction. Uh, um, so let's go ahead and I've got another question for Rye. So can you share any positives? So we've been on the negative. We're talking about more of the bad experiences, but can you share any positive experiences where your mindset was strongly influenced by a teacher who was supportive and understanding of your identity?
Yes, vividly. Big one example that I think of frequently is in my middle school. Mr. Merrill Parks was my history and language arts teacher, and that was in middle school was, I imagine, along with other students, a time where kids were just figuring themselves out. And I was talking to my friends just about something, and that teacher overheard and like came over and was just like asking some sort of questions. But in that conversation, I came out as, I think at the time, bisexual or something along those lines. Um, and that support from her made it way easier to talk to her during class. When everyone, as teachers do, will like talk about their lives, we would talk about like music and other things that would involve. But it was just a very healthy environment. Um, and then how this translates to like a healthy school environment. I have a huge problem, which I'm sure you can tell with my video, is that I procrastinate absolutely everything. Um, I my thing is I in most cases get it done by the deadline and with good effort. In that case, I wasn't able to complete I think some notebook checks, and I was able to come to her really visually stressed out, ask for an extension, ask for some help, and she was able to sit me down and work with me on, I think, the social studies assignment. And that wasn't the only time that happened that year. I talked highly of that teacher, and I told my friends, and that became a safe space for um, other students. It has a ripple effect, like most things do.
Very true. And then definitely, I know the teacher you're talking about, and fantastic, fantastic teacher. And it's a good to hear as far as the direction that she's gone. Would anyone else like to add anything to that as far as any positive experiences that you've come across? All right. Well, let's see. We have a couple more questions.
Here, I'll take
Um,
over it quick. Let's talk
yeah.
to Lynx. Lynx, have you ever felt unsafe at school because of your gender, and how did it affect you?
I think there's been like countless experiences where a lot like people can tell that I'm visually queer or trans, and they say mean things about it. A lot of that was before I started testosterone. And I think that's, oh, and also like the bathroom situation, because um my school, I originally, the plan was that I would change in the gender neutral restrooms in the wellness center for PE, but to get to the wellness center and to like the gym, I would have to go through the girls' locker room, and that caused discomfort for me and other people. And we had to make an agreement that I would be allowed to use the key, like have a key to the staff gender neutral restrooms. Um, and that has been better. We've had a few like issues with that recently, but especially just because of the nature of like high school boys, they're just extremely disrespectful. I think for the most part, the bullying has like gone down because either I didn't engage or I talked to someone and got it figured out. But there's just countless times throughout my day that and not even in school, but in life that I have to like acknowledge that the society we currently live in is not built for me to be able to live comfortably, and where there's a lot of like false progress where people say, "Oh, but look how much progress we have. Look how far we've come." But there's so many other issues that we haven't addressed, especially like the recognition of non-binary people. Like we're barely getting to the support for like binary trans people, and we're still kind of in a roadblock with that. But there's still so many more groups of people that we need to acknowledge and support. And we can't just say, oh, but look how far we've come, because we still need to continuously make progress and advocate.
Yeah, I mean that's as far as our progress. Yes, I mean we're not there. And even for me, with my pronouns being mixed, it's kind of hard to for me in my case too, as far as that goes. But yes, thank you for sharing that. I definitely, um, we're in a good position now where we have the ability to fight. Um, would anyone else like to add on to that? Sorry, I'm kind of taking over a little bit. All right. So I have another question, Trish. How can teachers become allies in fighting for the rights of LGBTQIA plus students?
Hi. So, we kind of touched on some of these subjects before, but a big thing, just like if even if you can't do a lot, the most important thing is making sure students feel safe in your classroom space. And so, some people mentioned this before, but safe space stickers are very important. And I remember in freshman year, there was some going around. It wasn't necessarily like official towards the school or the district or anything, but just something that teachers bought online and put on their doors. And that was really refreshing to see because I automatically knew that those teachers were someone that I can feel comfortable going to. And I'm actually planning on hopefully designing and printing out some safe space stickers to distribute to some of the teachers I know. And another thing is advertising GSA clubs because here at Vista, we do try to make ourselves a voice, but we are kind of overpowered with the other clubs that happen and programs that happen. And we try to make ourselves a voice, but there a lot of people ask like, oh, what does that stand for? Or sometimes we're a part of events and they tend to even forget that we're a part of it, which is really unfortunate. And I've experienced some of that with going from middle school to high school with GSA. I went to the same middle school as Rye, and at our middle school, our GSA was very kind of hush hush. We weren't able to do much. It was more of just hanging out. And here we try to branch out more in high school, but it is we do our best with what we can do. Um, and another thing is that for those LGBTQ plus teachers, um, depending on if you're tenured and if you feel comfortable to, um, making yourself and your identity known to some of those fellow LGBT plus students is also very helpful, knowing that there are adults just like us teens that have been through similar experiences and understand where we were coming from and are doing their best to fight for our rights at our school for the district. And it's very, very like just I cannot express enough like knowing that we have someone on campus that can understand us in that way. And for those allies, um, as a teacher, you can just advocate. Um, if you hear something, feel free to speak out or even make a report. And I even know a teacher who isn't as supportive towards the LGBT plus community, but they keep towards themselves. They do not express their opinions, um, and they don't want to spread hate, even if they don't necessarily support our quote unquote lifestyle. Um, I hope that other teachers who don't feel as comfortable know that they don't have to spread hate, and I hope that maybe um, you queer or ally teachers can even spread that word of just you do not have to spread hate, especially as a teacher. You want students at your school to feel safe. And again, curiosity is okay, but make sure the student is comfortable. So, yeah.
Thank you, Trish. That was definitely well said. And just making me emotional. Sorry. Um, I see links.
Yeah,
Would you like
David,
to add on something?
David, I'm sorry to interrupt for a second because I know
Oh yeah.
Rye is on a timeline. He
Oh yeah.
did want to, can he answer first? He might have just
Oh
left.
yes. Yes.
Can
We'll go
he?
ahead and yeah, Ryan, go
I'm
ahead.
still here.
And then
Hello.
Link
Okay,
right
okay.
after. Yeah. Right
Sorry
after Ryan, we'll get you.
to explain. I have to get my little brother fed. I was in the car because I had to pick him up. But yeah. How can a teacher be an ally? There's a lot of different ways you could do this. Some of them are as little as putting a little rainbow sticker on your door. You know, that's a little silent thing that students recognize. Um, what I would say is probably one of the major things is whenever you hear students on campus in your classroom go like, "Ew, that's gay," that's not acceptable at this point. Say something about it. And the main thing being an overall culture shift. Whenever your colleagues, well, because I should say this because if you're here, 9 times out of 10, you're not the problem. We should all say that we appreciate and we recognize you being here listening to us, and you're doing good. Um, where there's like issues or when you see other people like posting questionable things on Facebook, don't let it go under the radar. Don't stay following that person. Leave a little comment. It's those little things like that. And just have your heart right. Yeah, that's the main thing. If your heart's where it's at, the students will know. That's I could say that. But yeah, goodbye. I'm Rye.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you so much for saying. Um, oh yeah, definitely speak up. That's the biggest part about just being in our community. To be that support. Links. How would you like to add on?
I think I really agree with like seeing queer teachers because even like most of the queer teachers I've had, they're not very like outwardly queer. But even just mentioning little tiny things like in class, especially like it's great when you can tell that the teacher is comfortable just mentioning stuff about their queerness. It's really amazing to not like because it's usually the teachers you already connect with, but it just helps you connect even more and feel really comfortable and inspired.
Thank you, Links. It's definitely I agree 100%. Thank you for sharing that. Let's see. Actually, I'll turn it over. Would anyone else actually like to add on to this? If
Okay.
not, Em, would you like to take over?
Sure, thank you. Okay, so Alex, this question is going to be for you. Do you hear homophobic remarks or other forms of verbal harassments from your teachers, your classmates, or other school staff members? And if so, how did that impact you? And how did that make you feel?
Thank you. I've heard name calling and slurs and just like homophobic remarks and even just offhand remarks. Like not too long ago, I was called a half and half during PE, that was new. But yeah, seen teachers just kind of like brush it off or downplay it or just ignore it fully, and it's kind of infuriating to see like the teachers who say they support not do anything. So I appreciate like teachers like Madame, like who do not stand for that and they call out the people who do that. And yeah, it's just some kids don't have a supportive home to go to. So having teachers stand up and be like, hey, do not say this, it's unacceptable, is always really nice. And more teachers should be more like that.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. Same question, Atticus. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, I would. I don't know if it still counts if I was in Florida, but when I was in Florida, I heard a lot of homophobic remarks, just used very casually, I guess. Well, more like as an insult, like, "Oh, that's gay. That's so queer of you. That's what are you, a faggot?" You know, and it was just I became very desensitized to it, to where I just thought it was normal, and I've gone for like a couple months here in California without hearing that, and I heard it like a couple months ago saying, "Dude, that's so gay," and like this guy was pushing his friend around, and I looked over and I was like, "That's like," he was just like absolutely in shock, like that's still a thing here. It was very much a shock, and I guess because I'm desensitized to it, I find it more funny. It's just like, okay, okay, yeah, it's like whatever. Um, I find it more funny than anything. Just like that they continue to do that. But yeah.
Thank you, Atticus, for sharing that. It's I don't know how to add, but thank you. Um, would anyone like to add anything else to that one? All right, Ginger, actually, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I teach middle school, and I had some students recently using a fairly new slur, and they swore they had no idea what it meant, but I could tell that it really affected the person they were talking about. And so we had to have quite that conversation of this is what you're saying with this word, and we need to not do that. And so it felt weird to like have to kind of educate them, but on something that was new, kind of like bring it to light. But I think they needed that to realize, oh, we can't use this because it's hurting someone's feelings. It's really, really impacting them. So I think, the people in my life who have brought these things to my attention so that I'm kind of kept aware and that I know where it's going. And I was able to head that off before it got worse. And I didn't play it off of, oh, yeah, you're just talking about whatever it was their excuse was. So that knowledge is amazing.
That's very true. Thank you, Ginger, for sharing that with us. It's something that we need to kind of nip in the bud, sure, sorry. Let's actually go to our our last question, and let's end with Trish. Trish, how do you how do you think teachers can better tailor their teaching methods to meet the diverse academic needs of LGBTQI plus students?
So I found this question very interesting because it is kind of challenging to answer. Um, but most importantly, I would say is even though I understand that there are restrictions with what you can do as a teacher and what your school is, what your district is, what the board has in place with policies and things like that, I, if anything, I know that a lot of LGBT plus students do struggle with home life and mental health. And just to be aware of that, like it is very personal, but if a student opens up to you about their situation, um, be be understanding and be grateful that a kid is willing to go up to you and speak about that. And it is hard to hear. And like I've had teachers that I talk to cry or hug me whenever I talk about what has been going on with me just on a regular basis. And it is hard and it is very helpful to be offered that extra support, to give help as much as you can, even if it is just um, referring them to people who can even help them in a better way with understanding, especially with being LGBTQ plus, finding support groups, local support groups, or even um, school support groups. I was a part of one and it was great. And the social workers at my school were amazing. And even they are very supportive with LGBTQ plus and curious and ask questions and are very, very helpful when it comes to opening up about that stuff. And when it comes to academics, just sometimes we tend to struggle when there are things going on in our lives, especially with being LGBTQ plus, and if we're out or just having to hide, even sometimes it is hard to focus on academics and just sometimes accommodations are very helpful and sometimes it is very iffy, but it is very like as a student, you will not forget that if a teacher does that for you. And one last thing is to highlight the history of LGBTQ plus if you can. Um, Brandy, I remember back, I think it was last year maybe. It was Black History Month, and Brandy had a bunch of these papers of Black history figures, and it was great to see. And so something similar to that with LGBTQ plus during June, if your school goes till June, for Pride Month, or even awareness weeks like Bisexual Awareness Week, Transgender Awareness Week, um, celebrating days even. It's very nice to see and encourages us to be more feel more comfortable in an academic space.
Very true. And it's incorporating that into your instruction. I mean, that's kind of where you're going with it. Just the individuals within that field. I teach math and I try to emphasize individuals in a certain community case, um, just to show that, our the communities are a big part of our subject areas. But yeah, that's kind of where you're going with. It sounded like. would anyone else like to add to that, to like what you think that the teachers can do to their tailor their teaching methods? Awesome. Well, that was the last question of the day. I definitely thank you all the panelists for being honest and kind of keeping the truth and sharing your experiences. Um, Em, would you like to add anything?
Took me a while to unmute. I really just want to add thank you for everybody for being so honest, for being so raw, and for telling all of us teachers how we can be better. We always want to hear it. Those that are here in this panel, they want to hear it. Everybody here is happy and open to hearing this. I just hope that the message gets through to, you know, other people who might not be so understanding, who might not be so, and I don't mean to say they're uneducated, but you know what I mean. Like they don't know, you know, that's all I'm gonna say. So thank you so much for being here, all of you. And you guys are high school students, and it takes a lot to come up to this panel and speak your truth in front of all of these adults. So honestly, I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
And I'm gonna take it right back out to the students for one more time. Is there anything that we have not asked you, or something that you have thought of as you have sat and listened to all of your peers during this time? Is there anything additional you'd like for us to hear from you? Okay, so if not, and feel free if you think of something to chime in, but I am going to open it up now for about 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes of Q&A. We talked about if anybody in our audience would like to ask the students a question, now's the time. We'll just take a few minutes. And do we have any questions? I do know one thing, as you might be thinking, that students, I'm not sure if you're able to see the chat, but you have so many accolades in the chat. We are just all so proud of you and just admire and in awe of your courage for being here and sharing with us. And so I am certainly going to be saving the chat just so you can see how much support that you have with everyone here. Looks like we have a question from Jeff. Jeff, do you want to say it out loud, Jeff? You want to ask it out loud?
Yeah, sure. Again, thank you, panelists, for sharing your story. Really appreciated the honesty, and I know it takes a lot of bravery to be able to share that. One of the questions that, or one of the ideas that really stuck into my mind is being able to incorporate LGBTQ plus into the classroom setting. I teach English for 9th and 10th graders, and I do have a few students who identify. In a variety of those categories. And so I've always kind of struggled with incorporating these things, even though it's an English class and we have a set curriculum. So I'm just kind of curious, what were some of the, let me see if I can get back to the question. How have you seen your teachers incorporate LGBTQ plus into any given class subject? And are there any favorites that you've seen?
I haven't really seen. Oh, well, there was one in computer science. We had a like assignment that talked about Alan Turing. He was a gay man who I think he built the machine to decipher the Enigma code in World War II. And there's so many other queer and trans people in history. There was a transgender emperor a long time ago. I don't even remember where, but it was ancient times. Transgender uh, soldier in the Civil War, I believe. Um, there's like countless people, but like whatever subject or time period that comes up in class, just like doing a little bit of research on the queer and trans people that are involved in that, because we're everywhere and we have been throughout history.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Links. Listen, students, I have a question. I want you to put yourselves in this role now. I have a teacher online that right now who's unable, her audio's not working, so I'm going to ask the question on her behalf. Now, put yourself in place of from a student to becoming her co-teacher, and she wants to create a professional development. And so she needs to know, what do you think should be included in her teacher training as she goes back to train her staff, her team? What do you think would be some of the most important things that teachers should know in this training that she wants to go back and create? I see Trish's hand is up, so we'll start with Trish. Go ahead, Trish.
So with that, again, it really depends on like where you are and what you can do depending on your school and your district. But I think something that can be easily done across multiple areas is just phrasing and how you talk to students and how you introduce yourself to students as well. Just being open to having students share what they need from you as a teacher. I have a bunch of teachers who make students write little index cards that only the teacher will read, and just putting pronouns or mental health status on there is very useful for me to be able to communicate with my teacher properly. And so that is one big thing that I think a lot of teachers should do more. And also just with phrasing, with words and things like that. Someone mentioned it in the chat, but like there are some phrases that some people are uncomfortable with. So being able to alter that and kind of be more inclusive and diverse with your language is also very telling of who you are and who you can be as a teacher for a student. And Rai said it before, as long as like your heart is in the right place, then it shows, it will show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tris. We really appreciate that. And I think Alex has something to add to that.
Yeah, I completely agree with Trish, and just going off that, like new teachers introducing yourself and like using pronouns like, hi, I'm Mrs., Mr., teacher, whatever, and these are my pronouns. And then having like the index cards are always really helpful, where students can put their pronouns, or like, yeah, I have anxiety, yeah, stuff like that is always really helpful. And just having like the mental health like placards, or having the ally stickers are always really nice. And just like having teachers put like right out front, like, hi, I'm an ally, you can talk to me, is always really nice. And it sets off like the base of if a student can like be like, oh yeah, I can trust this teacher, or oh maybe not. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Alex. That's more education for us. And Links, you have something you'd like to add?
Yeah, I really agree with the just being able to communicate with the students, and creating a safe space, especially in the very beginning of the school year. Like having the introduction sheet or note cards, because there's a lot of other areas of people's identities that they might need support in. Mental health is a really big one. Just anything. Just being able to have that clear communication with the students and giving them the opportunity to voice whatever accommodations and support they need is the most important thing you can do. And also using inclusive language, non-gendered language, Instead of saying like boys and girls or ladies and gentlemen, you could say like folks. Guys is a pretty kind of gender neutral term. It's better than the other ones. Y'all, kids, um, yeah, or class.
Thank you, Lynx. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We appreciate that. No.
I'm not sure if you can hear us, Deirdre, but I think everybody's the same, right? We lost her. Okay.
Might have frozen.
Oh,
Okay.
you're back. You're back. Go
Okay,
ahead.
good. I'm back. Sorry, sorry. Was it? Oh my goodness. What I would can you hear me okay? I really want to now take a moment to before we continue with thanking everybody for being here today, especially our moderators. In fact, can we go ahead and do that now for our moderators, David and M? Thank you for leading and guiding and supporting these students through this session. We really appreciate you being here and your support. And I really want to now acknowledge my director who's in the room, and she has a few words as we begin to close. Tanya Almeida, many of you know she is the director in the Center for Teacher Innovation. She is my boss. And so she's going to have a few words right now. Thanks, Tanya.
Thank you, Dedra. And Dedra is my dear friend. And so I'm so thankful that she put this together. And facilitators, just beautifully done. Thank you so much for your time and heart that you shared here with us tonight and facilitating these conversations. I want to just wrap up by summarizing some of the important things that we heard from the student panel today. So I heard that students really want to feel respected and genuinely supported. They want to feel accepted without judgment. They appreciate the requested use of their gender terms. Knowing that they're in a safe space is helpful. They really want to feel understood. Having role models and representation is impactful. I heard clearly that people want to feel hope, that they want to feel hopeful with their teachers and support for their success and their futures. Our educators are in the room. So in our room today, we have newer teachers and we have veteran teachers, we have mentor teachers. And I think one of the students mentioned, the people that are in the room are maybe not the people that need to be in the room, but I think the idea of when we hear something, say something, we can all take that back with us. So for people that aren't here, when you hear colleagues say anything that could be hurtful, then we can, we don't have to be confrontational, but we can inquire further to maybe help further understanding. I think too, when Rai said, have your heart right, I just can't think of any greater compass than that. And as teachers, whatever religious or political beliefs we bring into the workspace, we have a responsibility to advocate for every student. And if our heart is right, we'll do that. And so I heard in the advocate role, I heard some requests from students like to not spread hate, to be an ally and to create safe space. And so I really want to thank everybody, all the students, for sharing your stories here today. And I want to thank the educators that are in the room for seeking understanding. And so I think we can all, as educators, go into our work environments tomorrow feeling like we could be a little bit even better for all students tomorrow than we were today. And that's part of the continuous growth that we should be seeking as educators. So I really appreciate everybody here tonight. So thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. And all participants, I would love for you to give our students a hand, our moderators again. You can shout out, you can come off camera. Come off mute and shout out loud if you want to, do a hand clap. They have just been magnificent today. Anybody want to give a shout out very quickly to the students? We're almost there, almost done. Yeah, many accolades coming through the chat. Thank you. Wonderful job. For those of us that are in the audience, you will see in the chat, you know how CTI is. We need your feedback. We want to make sure that we are able to continue presenting these student panels and the forums. And so please, please, please help us grow even more by sharing your thoughts. We put a survey in the chat, and also some of the survey we'll be sharing with the students because we want them to know how much you appreciated them from that standpoint as well through the surveys. But students, I want you to see in the chat when you get a chance. I'm going to say the chat for you. So much love and support for you coming through the chat. It'll be coming through the survey. So we're going to share with you all of those messages. And again, thank you so much for your time. It is 5:30. Thank you, everybody, for being here. If you're on spring break, we especially thank you for this time, for being so committed that you took some time, 90 minutes with us on spring break to share your stories. And those of you who are going on spring break, have a beautiful week next week. And we will see you again in some more listening, learning, and leading student panels because students' voices matter. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.